Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Yvonne here from My Halal Kitchen with another interesting interview for you here this morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. Today, we're going to do something a little different or talk about something a little different. I have a really special guest. Rohaizad Hassan is located in Istanbul, Turkey, and he's coming from Yildiz Holding to talk to us about what you as a consumer should know about regulations related to halal, related to organic. I'm going to let him do most of the talking, but first, let me say salam to you, Rohaizad. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Yvonne.
Hopefully, it's not too late for you in Istanbul.
No, it's fine. It's 9 p.m. here.
Yeah.
Weather is nice. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, is it? Good. Good. I'm
Yeah.
always trying to keep tabs on my favorite city in the world. But I appreciate you taking the time to do this in your evening. Before we get started, let me just you have a really impressive resume. You have done a lot, and in the halal industry, I'm going to let you expand on all of that. But let me just briefly summarize for everybody who you are and what you do. Rohaizad is currently working with Yildiz Holding, a multinational company based in Istanbul, Turkey. He is the global lead director in consumer dietary policy and corporate governance exercise. Since 2016, he has helped to establish the company compliance culture on halal, vegetarian, vegan, and kosher standards. Under Yildiz Food Safety Board presidency, he is also managing the same policy for Pladis Group. Pladis is a forefront branding company under Yildiz in which he's consulting and auditing on companies like Ulker, my favorite chocolate company, United Biscuits, Godiva Chocolate in the US, Demetz, Verkade in the Netherlands, Bien in France, and others in the MENA region. So again, welcome, and thank you for joining us with your expertise. Tell us how you got started in the halal industry.
Well, it's a long way crawling through the memory lanes. But I believe that it started somewhere in the early 90s. At that point of time, certification also, started to booming up, and then I have this opportunity to join Malaysia Airlines at that point of time. So my first week is actually to travel to Pakistan, and do proper audit with some of our senior colleagues. So I learned a lot from, of course, the colleagues that we have previously, the seniors that we have. So I tap a lot of information because we are visiting the suppliers, the manufacturers for the airline industry. At even the complex process. There are around 16 process in the airline catering, and then we go to the one or few major ingredient supplier, meat suppliers to the airline, and then that's actually where my journey started, especially in the that we are focusing more like at that time, early 90s is all about meat. Everyone is arguing about meat, how to slaughter it, how to, what's the process allowed, whether mechanical is allowed or no. All of that is actually being debatable, but it's actually depending on where you are, then how the interpretation of every community or every what we call imams and etc.
Sure.
So
Does that make it
yeah,
harder? That makes it
yeah,
harder,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But I think I mean the as a Muslim, we are being guided. If you are following the school of thoughts of the Ali Sunnah wal Jama'ah, which is the Maliki, Hanafi, and it's not really a sectarism, but it's more like these are the the jurists, the scholars that being guided us with the proper interpretation of Hadith and Quran, and also it allows us to understand better. So I think the differences of people are been something that Allah blessed upon.
Sure.
Interpretation is
I
good
agree.
because knowledge is very dynamic. It depends where you are. So it's actually something that I have to indulge and try to understand so much about every region. uh, some region, even they didn't have access to sea, and a lot of seafood they even can't consume because of that tradition from tradition it becomes a practice that adopted a
Ah,
part of practices. Yeah.
interesting. Geography plays a big role in how
Definitely, yes.
sort of the rules developed. I know
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes when I post things about seafood, and I'm of the understanding and the belief that everything from the sea is halal. But when I post things about certain seafood, people get really upset, or sometimes they're like, "That's
Yeah.
not halal," and I'm like, "Well, it depends on you." I wouldn't say it's not halal. I would say, according
Yeah.
to some schools of thought, it's makruh.
Yeah, but it's actually not, not haram per se. It's just that
Mm-hmm.
when something which is not identified or not identical to what they perceive as fish,
Mm-hmm.
it could be that the nature of the marine product, they might be not hygienic. The reason because halal is based upon halalan toiban. Toiban means that it has to be safe, it has to be hygienic, nutrition. Because of that reason, those scholars in those communities says that this is might not be hygienic, it
Mm-hmm.
might not be clean because some seafood pick up certain things, and then even
Mm-hmm.
like mud crab, it can't be eat
Yeah.
because it takes a lot of mud, sorry, a lot of filthy stuff on the land.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why, not just per se that they are, haram or something, but it's more like more the hygienic part of it.
Would you say some cultures just know how to clean certain seafood better, though? I mean, this is a topic I didn't know we were going to go into, but
Yeah, I
that's kind of
mean,
interesting,
no,
right?
I mean, it's actually, for example, like coming back to Malaysia. Malaysia have abundance of seafood everywhere because
Hmm.
we have access to the sea, and then
Right.
lots of way to how to. For example, if you know how to remove a poisonous part of the fish, it becomes
Hmm.
halal. Because you can't
Right.
eat something which
Right.
is
Right.
poisonous. So that's actually how you treat a certain thing, because from
Hmm.
what I learned as well, and from the teaching that we also learned, that everything under the sea is halal, including sharks. So it's actually how people treating the cleaning part, the removal part of the poisonous
Hmm.
part, it becomes halal or not.
That's interesting, and that's a topic we really, it would be nice to go into at some point, because I'm a big fan of oysters and mussels, and
Go
you
for
know,
it.
yeah. I mean, but I trust
Yeah.
that either I know how to clean it myself, or I go to a
Mm,
reputable place. But you make a good point about making sure things are hygienic
definitely.
and nutritious and all of that. I think that's important for all of our food. Not
Yeah.
just. I mean, you can look at the cows that we're getting. They're getting corn fed, and then they get sick because of that. So I think there's a lot of nuances today that weren't present a long time ago in food, right? And you
Definitely.
must see everything in food manufacturing. So it can't be all black and white, right?
Too much. I mean, but somehow when we narrow down according to system, what we
Mhm.
call halal management system, it is been done by the halal practitioner. So there's a standard practice, there's a best practice that we can allow us to identify what we can do for the consumers or people who we prepared for. Then actually make things easy if you are into the system itself, rather than
Mhm.
you are judging based on just low lying fruit or something like that. So
Mhm.
it's something that for halal practitioner we are guided by that code. We
Mhm.
have to check based on common industry, and because halal food is actually so diverse. We even
Yes.
sometimes we export to certain country, we need to comply to certain requirement. Like for
Mhm.
example, like we talk about seafood for long now, because that topic is actually been around for many thousand of years. So
Sure.
I hope that indifference is not an issue, because
Mhm.
you always need to respect each other at the end of the day.
That's a really important point. I feel like
Yeah.
as consumers, um, looking at it from, let's say, before I started in this industry and before I knew what I know now, we can tend to have a really simplistic view of things,
Mhm.
because the further you get into it, it can feel really overwhelming. Because the more you know, the more complicated you realize the system is, the supply chain is. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not getting things from a farm and then bringing it into our kitchens. It's just not happening like that anymore. There's so
Yeah.
much involved in not just the food, but the packaging and the conveyor belts and the manufacturing the factories and so on and so forth. So what would you say is the most crucial thing for consumers to know or understand about
Mm.
regulations around halal or organic or vegetarian? Like what is it? How can we simplify it for people? What should they look for?
I think first and foremost, the consumer must have their own standard of choice. So
Mm-hmm.
without standard of choice, what do you consider? What are you referring to? For example, labeling or not. So I think first thing first, when
Mm-hmm.
we start to consume new things, I will say that to any consumer, it will be better for them to refer to the manufacturer's website, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
information are being revealed on the corporate or the manufacturer website rather than on the labeling itself, because the labeling are for generic purposes, is for every
Oh.
consumer. There are some certain sensitivity issue need to be considered because it's actually for all religion, all walk
Mm-hmm.
of life, or lifestyle. So most of the company, most of the manufacturers are declaring all this compliance on the website, be it
Mm-hmm.
halal, kosher, vegan, or vegetarian.
But do
That's
but
number
do the
one.
halal do the halal so for halal products, let's say,
Mhm.
uh, well, first of all, let me go back a second. I think that's something that um, me as a consumer, I really would think that the labels would be um, um, more informative than a website because
Mhm.
of the
Mhm.
rules around,
Yeah.
the FDA rules or the USDA rules, for example, in the US. I would think that when I get a product and I look at it, that
Mhm.
that that has to be more compliant with laws than a website. But you're saying
Mhm.
basically you're going to get more information from a
Yeah.
website than the labels. That's something that
I'm
surprises
I'm
me.
I'm actually referring to halal, because
Halal only. Okay.
halal is voluntary labeling. There is no in the market that we are saying that halal is actually a mandatory. It's
Right.
actually in an industry is basically based on voluntary, except for those market, sensitive market. You're talking about Middle
Mhm.
East, Saudi Arabia,
Right.
Indonesia,
Right.
Malaysia, or in the even certain market that you required to do so. But in the Western countries, most of the time they are not declaring that because it's not mandated by
Mhm.
regulatory.
Mhm.
So most of the time they are declaring on the website they are complying. Generically, they will say that we are complying to international standard according to all the compliance, and also we also taking consideration of lifestyle, religious belief. They will
Right.
declare like that on the
Right.
website rather than on the packaging, because
Sure,
it's
sure,
not
sure.
mandated by
Yeah.
regulatory.
Well, so as a consumer, and a halal consumer, what I see a lot from other consumers is that they're not just looking at the website of the company's products, but they're
Mhm,
going
mhm.
to the source of the certifier. They want to
Yeah.
know who certified the product, and and then they want to talk to that certifier. But a lot of
Mhm.
times, buyers are not that transparent about the
Yes.
process. And I don't know if that's because they have so many products to certify, or so. Would you say that that's an issue as well? The
Definitely is
transparency?
an issue, because certification body are not spokesperson for the company they certify,
Right.
definitely, and they
Right.
are very, very, I would say, protective of their customers, because they sign what we call non-disclosure agreement. They
Sure.
could not reveal whatever the company is doing, and
Hmm.
certification body is there to actually to ensure that okay, they are certifying this as a halal, but they
Hmm.
can't be a spokesperson for the company that who they certify. So if you want to reach out to understand, you should go to the manufacturer website, to the contact us. They usually have a very good answer. I've done this many times, if for my personal usage or my family, I always go directly to the website, go to the contact us and ask the question, and they will happy to answer your question, because certification body won't reveal. At the same time, it's a trade secret. I
Sure.
can't, I mean, session body, I can't reveal, okay, what this company is using, etc., etc., as the other competitor will be listening. So it's a trade secret. At the same time, they are unable to reveal those details. So the
So the
best
only
way, yeah, the best way is go to the manufacturer itself.
so the only thing that the certifier could really reveal is basically that they yes, in fact, or no, they don't certify a certain product, right?
Yeah,
Is that what you're
they,
saying? Because I feel like
definitely,
you
yes.
you see this happen on Instagram and I mean, sorry, not Instagram, but Twitter. I've seen this on
Mhm.
Twitter happen for a long time where somebody will say something about a product not being halal, and then they're going to the certifier to ask all these questions. And usually
Mhm.
certifiers are pretty mum. They don't
Okay,
say much.
this is something that you need to understand. When the market or the regulatory of the market itself does not require the product to be labeled as according to lifestyle, instead they just according to the food safety, the compliance, on the basis that the interest of food safety is our most important rather than
Mhm.
lifestyle. Unless the company take the leap jump to actually to say that, okay, my product have a trademark of halal, vegan or vegetarian or kosher, that is basically voluntary. And at the same time, there's a market force that pull the market, that if you don't put the kosher or halal or whatever logo on the packaging, then they will have less market share in the market, then they will lose their business. So
Mhm.
because of that market force, they will label it down. Because of the competition, they know, because usually manufacturers will study who are their closest competitor, how many market share they are in the business. If my competitor is doing those logo, those compliance to the lifestyle and religious belief,
Mhm.
they have to do it, because competition is there, and because of the presence of consumer association in the market. If the consumer association in the market is very strong, for example, in France, they has ACIDCOM, and also Germany. So these
Mhm.
consumer associations are very strong. What they do is actually to get all the product from the retail and send to the laboratory, and they will disclose in the website which product, which brand contain animal derivative or not. So because of that, I would say, hostile market for the manufacturer, they have no option instead of to label the product. So that's actually why this is actually a very complex situation, because based on where you are, based on the region, based on the nature of the society itself.
I imagine, well, I don't know, I've never been, but, you're originally from Malaysia, and,
Yes,
Malaysia
true.
is known for having excellent standards in halal, very high standards that we really look up to. Would you say that it's easier for Malaysian consumers than American consumers because of the, um, voluntary nature, of halal here? Um
Um, Malaysia imposed Halal Act back then.
Mhm. What does that mean, halal the Halal
It
Act?
means
What
that
did that
Halal
do?
Act means that because usually manufacturers want to make an expression on the packaging. For example,
Mhm.
there is no lard, there is no alcohol. So because of that expression on the packaging, they have to be certified. So
Mhm.
those which is not do not want to make any claims, any expression on the packaging, they does not require to be certified. So it's easy for us, because everyone is actually putting the halal logo. I mean, certified by the accredited body or recognized body.
Mhm.
It's easy for us to access those product with the logo, and those know that if they are ready to get the certification, they must be willing to open the door for transparency, to be evaluated to the core. And that's the
Yeah.
reason why, if they are not ready, they will not make any claims. Even they will not even say there is no alcohol in the product, there is no lard, because in Malaysia those expiration will be bound to regulatory that you have to be certified. So it make our life much easier there.
Yeah, it's a lot different of a story
Yeah,
here in the US. I think for here
definitely.
it's halal is really driven by consumer demand, which is still a very small market
But
share.
ironically, what I know from most of my colleagues in United States, there are 8 states in US which is have halal labeling act, meaning that if they are trying to demonstrate their product to be halal, they have to actually somehow documented that process, demonstrate that process, because it's actually bound to the law. For example, New Jersey, Texas, New York, they have their own halal labeling act, sort of like could be interpretation not as the act, could be
Mhm.
just an article of the legislation that requires that. So if you make those claim, you must be ready to demonstrate you have a proper halal process. That's
Yeah.
what I know in US.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thankfully, people are more consumers are more aware, awake.
Hmm.
Um, they're more concerned about what's
Hmm.
in their food in general. So I
Yeah.
think that just the veganism and the gluten-free
Yeah.
trends have actually opened up a lot of transparency in food in general, which makes it a little easier for halal in that sense.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it can get complicated because of the complexity of ingredients as well.
Yeah.
Not everybody
Definitely.
understands why. Um, they don't. Well, what is glycerin? Or that gelatin can come from places other than pork.
Yeah.
you know, so there's a lot to learn for consumers, and so it's overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be sort of somehow teamwork in the family. You bring
Yeah,
down the
yeah,
product on the labeling and then put on the table and start to use some application that not all are actually reliable. Those
hmm
designed by mostly by Muslim food engineers. For example, the
yeah,
one I use, which is called Halal Body. I know them. They are food engineer. They are food scientists that will unfold whatever being produced by the manufacturers.
hmm
So this is something good. For example, if you see in European country, there are E numbers guided by E numbers. So there will be 400 series E numbers that will know this actually a ingredient that might be sourced either from plant, from animal, or from even
exactly,
organic. Yeah. So this
exactly.
is actually where this application is actually very handful, but it has to be something that trustable as well,
Right,
because if any university is coming out with the E numbers, they are basically based on what regulatory actually align for them. So they will align to those regulatory, whereby in those regulatory processing aid are not being declared, or alcohol above 1.2
that was
below
my
1
next
point or below 1.2% are not being declared.
that was my next question.
Yeah,
Yes,
so that's the
yes.
reason why you need help with those application.
Yeah, I feel like food scientists are the brilliant minds of our community. We need them so much, and I would encourage more people to go into food science because
True.
I remember when I first started in this industry and I would ask, questions that I thought were so basic and they would just respond to me like it's so much more complicated than you think. We can't
Yeah.
just look at something today. It's not like 100 years ago even where you could, you know, uh even today yogurt for example, it's not just the simple ingredients. I mean, there's so much that is put
Yeah,
into modern food,
so
but
many
the
things.
food scientists really understand every single one of those ingredients and
Yeah.
what they're made of and the byproducts. And
Hmm.
it's fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I agree. Totally agree with you.
So let's talk about the alcohol because you
Yeah,
touched on it for
sure.
a second. That's a really interesting topic. I've learned quite a bit about it in my years again of working with food scientists, but
Hmm.
tell us about the sort of regulations around it in halal.
That's the biggie part. I mean, ethanol, or we call it in industry, we call it as ethanol, is actually from pure ethanol group. All of
Ethanol.
them are
Hmm
from pure ethanol group. It's actually where from which industry is being used is actually considered halal or not. Okay,
Mm.
I'm talking about mainstream, because there are some minority that still consider whatever what we call as the industrial alcohol is actually as halal,
Mhm,
because it's actually separate from the process what we call hamar process, which is involve consumer alcoholic, that
mhm,
the same company to produce consumer alcoholic like wine and beer, and at the same time producing ethanol for industry is considered shubha that we need to avoid. But those produced by the manufacturers of food industry, by pharmaceutical industry, by medical industry is considered halal because
Interesting.
there is no process of hamar. So that's actually where the source of ethanol been deemed as halal, because they do not have that shubha, because ethics is actually very important in halal, in principle in
Sure.
Islam. So that's the reason why we need to check. And the measurement that we always count is actually at the finishing product, whether it does not over the limit of 0.5% of alcohol, because above than 0.5 alcohol you are going to enter euphoria anyway. So this is calculated by the scientists. It has to be
Hmm.
below 0.5. um, this also available, this standard also available, issued by SMIC in Turkey, which is a body that endorsed
Yes.
by OIC. Recently they announced this standard, and Malaysia been using this standard since like 20 years ago, and also Indonesia. So that's the reason why Coca-Cola, that which is certified by Ifanka or ISNA, if I can recall, being certified because the amount of alcohol, number one, is actually very small,
Right.
and ethanol are being produced by their own refinery, and it does not have what we call shubaha with hamar production.
That's a very, very crucial difference.
There's clear
The
difference.
very crucial difference. I
Yeah.
mean, two questions I get the most from home cooks are um, number one, I know how to answer it, but I would rather you answer it. It cooking wine. You know,
Yeah.
people go to restaurants and they get
Mhm.
a pasta dish and they say, you know,
Mhm. That's
there's
right.
wine in it, but it was cooked off. So you would say to that, what?
I mean, for me, I will reject that because
Yeah,
um, wine is najis, what we call it najis or impure in our
right.
religion. So whatever food that being contaminated with wine should be should be removed completely. If let's say the equipment been shed, it still be okay, because number one, ethanol or alcohol is actually a water soluble properties,
Mm.
and in our fake process, to remove a wine or beer just using a tap water, or we call it mutlak water, clean it as long there is no odor, there's no taste, there's no smell. So with that three universal element which is recognized by fiqh, then the equipment become halal. So
Mm.
alcohol is not longer issue. But if you eating something that been already used with wine, then it's actually forbidden in halal principle.
And it doesn't cook off completely.
Yes,
It doesn't. It
definitely.
doesn't.
It is
Even
not.
the US scientists, there's even alcohol charts I included in my cookbook to show people that this didn't even come from Muslims. This came from, you know, just your American
Mm,
scientists who you can get this from the government website
yeah,
that certain percentage of alcohol is still remains in food even when it's quote
definitely. Yes.
unquote cooked
Yeah.
off. So that, and then the other question I always get is about vinegar.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Very
yeah,
popular question.
very popular question. It's probably my most popular question. Over 13
Okay.
years, I must get it like once every couple weeks.
Okay. I mean, vinegar is quite something that which is we can say that is actually rooted back to the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Yes, no, they
I
was,
mean, this is a process what we call istihala.
yes,
Even though that
istihala.
the vinegar been mixed with wine, but it goes through a natural process. Some jurists, of course,
Mhm.
definitely say it's halal because there is no contamination during the process. But if there's a manufacturer put on additional additive, it becomes doubtful. It becomes something which is not acceptable. Most fermentation process not necessarily haram if let's say it done naturally, and it is not for intention or to make people befog their mind, and not because,
Sure.
so that's the reason why a vinegar produced by halal company is actually in such way there is no shubaha, and the process done with natural fermentation that monitored by them. So there's no problem with fermentation of vinegar as long it's actually been controlled by proper halal practitioner.
And I always tell consumers also that, unless they're adding wine to the finished vinegar product, which is rare,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be any issue because especially in the US, there's proof on the label that it is a certain acidity. Vinegar has to have a certain acidity percentage. And so that label should say that. And so those are two things, consumers can always kind of find out. I think it's the most popular question, but I feel like it's the easiest one to kind of,
Yeah.
clarify in that
I mean,
sense. It's not that
as long you understand the process, then it's clear.
right.
But if you're talking about from manufacturer standpoint,
Mhm.
we like the consumer to have clarity, peace of mind.
Sure,
So
sure.
if
Of course.
we can find non consumer alcoholic product to be used in our vinegar, we will use just ethanol and some fruits to make it
Right.
vinegar. We found supplier will just like that, because end of the day there are some people, for example like Sufi, they do not want any issues about any even contamination, or even though that is the halal process. But this is something that we if someone manufacture do something, it's something suitable for everyone. So
Mhm.
we will try to not to use those which is what we call non impure product to be combined with the process of fermentation.
Sure.
So it's actually by choice. We try to, for example, some scholar will not eat shark just by preference, although they can, but
Right, right.
because of that nature, they do not want to to contend with what they eat. So that's the reason
So
why we try to do make everyone happy. Yeah.
I another one I have just now that you're talking about this, I'm thinking about
Mhm.
soy sauce. That's another one that most people are really shocked that you should really find a halal certified soy sauce.
So yeah, the soy sauce is mostly in the world. If you see the market, especially from the east, the use of ethanol alcohol is there, and the content of alcohol is too high.
Yes. Yes.
If you talk about soya sauce coming from Far East, definitely the use of mirin or sake will be there, and the content is high. If let's say the ethanol coming from industrial ethanol, but the content is low, less than 0.5, then this is a different story. But no, the content is high. Is number one. Is
Yeah.
not is already at the age of that percentage, allowable percentage, then it's something that we need to reject. So soya sauce, there are certain brands that have issues in the newspaper on this. So try as much as possible to get the one which is certified. That's actually the best solution, I guess.
Yeah, I think people get confused because they might consider the way soy sauce is made and the way vinegar is made as kind of being similar because they're oftentimes
Mhm.
both made in barrels, but it's a
Mhm.
totally different thing. They're
Yeah,
both very
it
different.
usually mostly are additional, because if you put alcohol, it could be soya sauce, the structure will be fumbled, so they have to add in later. So that the
That's
process
the
are
key
totally
point.
different for the vinegar.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, very fascinating stuff. So is your background in food science? What is your educational background in?
My background is food management.
Food management.
Along the food management, sort of like there's a thought process on chemical and
Mhm.
nutrition as well.
Yeah, that's where it gets complicated but you sure do learn a lot in halal. Um, so the way the world is going today, it's kind of
Mhm.
interesting when it comes to food.
Mhm.
Sometimes I would think, wow, it's getting a little scary and all the fake food that's out there, like meats that they're
Yeah,
talking about
definitely.
creating meats in a lab
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but let's always be optimistic as Muslims, right?
Yes,
That
definitely.
the thing that I see that is really good is that consumers want the transparency and there's this whole trend and I'm not really happy to you know say, well, there's clean food and then there's dirty food. I mean, there's this whole trend on clean food. And I think what people mean is that they're free of toxins and chemicals and all of that. But the positive part of that is that they want to know more about uh, sustainability in food and environmental factors, animal welfare, all of those things that are good, actually things that Islam puts in our
Yeah.
consciousness anyway. So
Mhm.
do you think that that's a really good thing for the halal industry as well? That this trend in like looking for consumers looking for healthier, cleaner food is going to help
Uh,
rise halal?
I think eventually that is actually the aim why halal industry existed. It goes a long way, and then because of halal and toiban is required. Even for example,
Mm.
to the level that even we look into some suppliers in certain area. We even check whether within 5 kilometer there is no contamination of chemical company or animal plant company surrounding the factory. It has to be in the free, good environment of industrial zone.
Hmm.
So every level of possible healthy environment is very important for us. And of course, we're talking about product which is shelf life more than 2 years, 1 year, because of the preservative using in the
Right.
product. This is something is a must, and not that we can achieve quality to the top notch 100%, but the most importantly, even like airline food, we prepared 72 hours before the flight take off. It's
Hmm.
actually more about to ensure the product are safe to consume.
Right. So
That's
it
more
doesn't
important.
spoil and give people food
Yeah,
poisoning and things like
the
that. Yeah.
process are meticulously, because we are preparing 30,000 meal a day in airline, so we can't make the choice to prepare 3 hours like home meal to the aircraft. We have to prepare 72 hours before,
Yes. Yes.
with a highly sophisticated equipment, playing, not manipulating, but we are using scientific approach to managing temperature, so that
Hmm.
food is actually consumable at certain point when the stewardess, the steward are regenerating or reheat the food, and it looks like it been cooked few
Yeah.
hours ago. So that's the
Yeah.
reason why somehow that level is actually very hard to achieve, to get a quality and health really
Hmm.
healthy product, because
Yeah.
of the requirement of the industry itself.
Hmm. Sure. Sure. But it
Especially
has to
when,
be there.
yeah, it has to be somehow a component of it, unless you really go, you really, your person, yeah, as an individual, you really go for organic, directly
Hmm.
buying from the source. That is actually the most healthy way to do, going
Sure. Sure.
directly to
Traveling is a
the
little
farm
different,
itself. Yes, I
but
mean, back to individual, but for industry wise, that preservative, that additive is there to actually to ensure the product are safe to consume.
so you worked with Turkish Airlines, right? Did you mention that?
I work with Malaysia Airlines and also Lufthansa.
Lufthansa. Okay, not Turkish
Yeah,
Airlines.
no,
Okay, I've
I
never
wish to.
flown with
I wish.
because they're. I'm just thinking about their food. Their
Yeah.
food is pretty good on their flights, and I'm wondering if it's has something to do with all this. I mean, it's complicated. It's complicated to
I
get a
think
good meal.
it's about choice of ingredient is actually a big factor to make
Yeah,
a product very
yeah.
fresh. For example, those kind of a company that really take care of quality and freshness is all about doing contract farming. So without contract farming process, they can't get
Right,
really quality product.
right. Well,
Yeah,
Turkey's got fantastic food sources, so
definitely.
I'm sure that.
Agriculture is top notch.
Yeah, it is, and you're
Yeah,
lucky enough to be there to enjoy it, mashallah.
yeah.
And you probably have, like, your choice of as much Ulker chocolate as you want, and
I mean, I have even a chocolate shop next to my office.
oh, that could be dangerous. I know
Yeah, definitely.
whenever I go to Turkey, that's, like, the first thing I do is just go straight to um, the shops and I don't do that in the US, but I think because it's all
Yeah,
halal, and it's tastes really good compared
yeah.
to other places, but
Inshallah, try to buy our product. we have covered that 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 issues, whether,
Yeah.
because one thing, chocolate use, dairy product is actually
Right.
something that very doubtful, the
Yeah. Yeah.
use of whey powder. These are the things that which is
Yeah.
quite
Yeah.
critical, but we ensure that all our factory are compliant, and they are, most of them are certified, except those which is in the country that, this is something, and then the market share is actually less for halal consumer.
And you mentioned tayyib a lot in this
Mm.
conversation without me
Mhm.
even asking you, and I think that's an indication of something important, because I'm really big on that. I mean, to clarify for people who don't know what tayyib means, if you're watching, I guess you would kind of liken it to pure whole food, organic food, things that are not tainted with chemicals and pesticides, right?
Definitely. I mean, if something that need to be prepared for someone who, want to consume something, it has to be to that nature that, for example, I'll give you example. If they are preparing something, it has to, according to the codex,
Hmm.
the limit cannot be high. For example, if they use even poppy seeds, the content of morphine have to be very, very low. you know
Interesting. Interesting.
everything
Poppy seed.
everything
Yeah.
everything are structured according to the food safety act, that
Right.
designed for food safety, and then we make sure that when food safety is there, then we can focus quality more, you know
Sure. What
make
about
things right.
nutmeg?
Come again.
Nutmeg.
I mean, nutmeg is
Like,
such natural as it is, but poppy seed, they have a morphine content, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah.
Interesting,
So
right? I mean,
So
these are the
your
things you're
codex,
thinking
I
about.
think in grass list, in FDA grass list also, they have level that to control morphine in poppy seeds.
We have a lot to learn. We have a really lot to learn. Is tayyib really important in Malaysian halal products?
I mean, that's the aim.
The
That's
aim.
the goal aim.
Good.
I
Very good.
mean, as I mentioned, that once after food safety is done, I mean, all is been taken care.
Hmm.
Quality is the another level they need to achieve.
Hmm.
Being tasty doesn't mean it's quality, but
Right.
I mean, choosing the right manufacturers, the suppliers, very
Hmm.
important.
Sure.
Ethics,
Yeah.
ethics,
Anywhere.
how they do it, and how they prepare is actually very important. As I say, those additives are been there to actually to make sure the product. Now, if you are ready to buy it or consume it, then actually the industry are making sure that is safe. Number one is safe for
Sure.
you, and of course it has to be packed with all this nutritious value. But if
Sure.
you're going for burgers, you're going for those fats, craving oil, but something is twisted if you say that, okay, I want to go for healthy. But this is actually, as I said, the first thing, consumer must have a standard of choice. Without standard of choice, you can't even have
Right.
your compass correctly, and then you won't be able to evaluate the labeling, etc. So most
Sure. Sure.
importantly, how standard in yourself, I mean, must be there,
Yeah.
must be
And
up to
I
mark.
mean, the ideal for me is halal and tayyib, right? Halal organic or
Definitely.
halal. What I when I was in Turkey, what I was really pleasantly surprised to see was that they have the tayyib label. It's I don't know if it was just the brand. It was a chicken brand called Banvit, and they
Mm,
had on the on the packaging it said halal and tayyib. And I was so happy to see it, and it really did taste
yeah.
amazing. So tasted different than the one that was just halal. And I thought, well, I wish we would could do something like that in the US,
I mean,
more of
the
that.
know-how to make things good, nutritious, is all about knowledge. You can't, you
Sure.
can't, you can't be a halal baker if you do not know how to make a proper bakery or bread. So
Sure,
in that
sure,
industry knowledge need to be mastered. They need to actually grasp on all this knowledge before we can be a proper halal producer. So I believe that to reach that level, all the process industry must be, well versed, before we can even say that the product is halal toiban. And so,
Isn't it a bit of a
yeah,
catch-22 though? I mean, on one hand you have, I mean, the capitalist system is that the product needs to make money, right? So the producer of the product is going to say, well, if the consumers demand it and then they'll pay for it, we'll create it, we'll make it
mm,
happen. But if the consumers don't really know, it's sort of a catch
yeah.
22 for everybody.
As I said earlier, this is actually a market push theory, that
Hmm.
something that, this is not about consumer willing to pay or not. You are not preparing the product just for halal consumer. You're preparing for everyone. There
Sure,
is
sure.
no
Very good
classification
point.
of product that this is just for halal consumer. It's actually very hard to be performed at the factory. You have one line with only halal labeling, and another line only for generic labeling. I've
Right.
been in the industry for 20 years. I never seen that kind of labeling, unless it's for exporting market. Yeah, of course, exporting market
Yeah.
you can put different labeling, but process will be always the same. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. I
it-
see, the producers the business people that I work with who
yeah.
create awesome halal products in the US,
Mhm.
they would love to feed everybody. They're not looking at, oh, only if you're Muslim and only if you eat halal. They're making great products and they would like everybody to benefit from them being,
Mhm.
believing that these are healthy for you and all of that. But I think
Mhm.
what happens is that once that halal label is on it, it kind of
Mhm.
becomes political to people, right? At least in the US. Maybe not in Malaysia or Turkey, but in the
Uh,
US, there's the dividing. It kind of, people start to think, oh, it's not for me, or there's a political issue to it. So it becomes complicated and difficult for businesses to, continue making
yeah, I know.
and growing and
Um,
thriving in their halal product businesses. So it becomes hard.
I think awareness is key, definitely, because
Yeah.
as people see that kosher as also a mark of quality, halal as there as
Yes.
well,
Yes.
because whatever that the principle of type is actually without the product, governed by food safety, governed by a meticulous process of complying to regulatory to make it consumable. That's the reason why they need to see the market, the consumer in general need to understand halal is also a mark of quality, and also a mark of
Yes.
food safety, nutrition or balance requirement that we should have. So
Right.
awareness is key, because one thing, halal was based on awareness. This is a study been done back then, because of the among the manufacturers are keep on putting signboards that make, for example, like those days McDonald's is now halal, then Subway, for example, in UK, coming out with that signage and all those, then the people start who drive by side the highway, or he said, am I eating something not halal, because they are start saying that their product is halal. So awareness is becoming a big thing in the past,
Yeah.
and because of the competition, because of this awareness, that's the reason why the awareness becoming bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's a great thing. And those of us in the industry who work really hard to continue educating people and like bringing that awareness, not just to the Muslims, right? To everybody. It's a mission. It's a mission because
Yeah.
we truly believe in it and want people to benefit from it. But always, I believe it's really important to always push that standard higher and higher and higher because, you know, we can always do better. We
You're
can always
doing
improve.
great job. I think you're doing great job
Thank
to
you.
channeling this knowledge out to the especially consumer at large in US. I think more people need to do what you do, because without awareness, without knowledge, I mean, it's very hard to help people even don't understand what they are eating. Especially most
Yeah.
of the confectionery product in the market are, I would say, made from some substances which is doubtful, unless you understand what you're actually eating.
Hmm.
So knowledge
Knowledge
need to
is key.
be, yeah, knowledge is a
Knowledge is
king, they say.
power. Yeah.
Knowledge is king. So yeah, everything is
Yeah. No, I
important.
couldn't. I couldn't do this without experts like yourself. I mean, I learn every day from people like you, and the conversations we've had prior to this interview, just to kind of
Mhm.
get to know more about what you do. I learned a lot in just two conversations we had, and and I've been in this for a long time. There's always something new to learn, and you're in it every day as well.
I
We
mean,
all have to kind
alhamdulillah,
of,
we also learn from someone, and that process continue, and
yeah,
to be as a halal practitioner is about giving out knowledge,
yeah,
sharing.
yeah.
So I think it's very important we all of us to do that.
No, I agree, and I thank you so much for taking your time to just generously talk to people about these issues that they take time to kind of
Yeah,
simplify and break down,
yeah,
and I don't like to overwhelm people with so much information, but I do think it's important to step by step kind of really let people be aware of
mhm.
what's in their food so they can make better choices. They can,
Definitely.
you know,
Yeah,
have better communications with the companies that provide, whether it's halal, kosher, vegetarian, whatever,
yeah,
good communication. And it keeps the companies accountable as well. They would not be, I
definitely.
think, today companies are getting so much better at it. They're getting,
Yeah,
websites are getting more interesting. They're telling stories about their founders and their farms, and that's a good thing. So as complicated as things are, I think we know more. We're not as in the dark as we were 20 years ago about what we
no.
eat. So that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
so there's so many things to learn now because
Yeah.
people everywhere now offering this knowledge. As for
Hmm.
myself, as my pro bono work, I'm giving free knowledge as well
Right.
on my personal blog, on my LinkedIn. So I also been sharing some news information,
Yes.
something that I can do as an employee. At the same time, I'm also a halal practitioner, where most of the halal practitioner at the same time sharing, giving awareness. That's actually our role to the ummah. That's
Yes. Yes.
more that what we want to be.
And so before we go, let's let everybody know where they can find you, because you're also a consultant, right? So let me put some information in the chat, in the comment section, about, tell us where we can find you. What is the best, easiest, fastest way people can follow you and follow your work?
I think they can go to halalindustryquest.com. This is actually where I'm giving somehow my humble, information and knowledge, what I have done or what I gathered from the industry.
Hmm.
Um, so that's, you can grab me, and also you can find me in LinkedIn. We can connect, and I'm sharing some news, even for those my colleague in the industry. We are sharing each other about exportation market, what are the market is about, where we are going to, what are the latest industry. For example, in the latest agriculture, they are doing vertical farming, something
Yeah.
interesting topic that we're
Yeah.
discussing. So we are talking not just what we talk on the path of halal, but at the same time we take industry, what industry
Exactly.
that we can align to. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you
Anybody
so
in
much.
food or halal or both should really follow you on LinkedIn or connect with you. I mean, that's how I learned a little bit more about you. I think that's how we
Thank
connected.
you.
And you share some really interesting things on there. Even I really liked the article about the um, negotiating tips from
Oh
the
yeah.
CEO of Yildiz. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
just things like that. I mean, food
I've been
industry.
learning also with the Uka family. They
Yeah.
are very innovative, very.
Yes.
I know the leadership that they show is actually very profound. It's something that
Hmm. Lot to learn there.
lesson days now we can't we couldn't see so much, especially Muslim leaders in the industry, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. Murauka, he always share about things that he did in the industry, what he can do, and
Hmm.
he brings back some notable project at Harvard University.
Yes.
He's setting up a laboratory to produce more and more scientists,
I saw
whoever
that.
scientists who come and then do a lot of research, and they can go
Mhm.
back to the country and contribute. So that's
Yes. And I think the
What
lab is
method?
named after them, right? The Olkar, it's
It's named after their father,
yeah,
the late
yeah.
Sabri Uka.
That makes us proud, you know? That makes us proud.
Yeah,
And yeah, I think that you just have some really interesting insights on your LinkedIn page. So I encourage everybody to connect with you. If well, hopefully you won't get inundated with too much, but but you seem pretty open to
yeah.
wanting to share. Maybe you should write more articles on LinkedIn too. That way,
Yeah,
everybody who's
I
connected.
did a few articles, especially I think the most viewed is actually the seven driving force of halal industry. It
Oh, I have to read
it
that. Okay, I didn't see that one.
that's actually I mean a lot of even non-halal interest came
Mhm.
into and learn quickly what are the seven driving force of halal
Perfect.
industry. So you can go there, and I also posted the fast of halal slaughtering. So why halal slaughtering
That
is such a big thing? Why
yeah.
is humane and etc. So
That's not
it's,
an easy topic to write about either, to
yeah,
because just by the nature of it, it's not easy
it's
to
not
write
easy.
in a
It's
way.
not easy, but the data, the information is out there. For example,
Yeah, it's true.
you
Yeah.
never know. United Nations have published the information that halal, when they do slaughtering, there's a cerebral anosmia where the oxygen been cut off by when the slaughtering process, so
Mhm.
they die because the less oxygen goes to the brain, and so less pain and
Pain, less pain. Yeah,
they tremor because of the oxygen, etc. So
right.
I
That was a
mean,
study in Germany. Was it a study done in Germany?
yes,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
one of the study done by Professor no Regenstein, sorry,
Yes.
Jorenstein, also my colleague in Canal, he's
Yes,
also
Doctor. Oh,
doing,
yeah, yes, I know him.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Okay.
he's doing also a lot of study about animal benefit ethical,
Mhm.
so it's something that it's very nice to
Fascinating.
have.
I think we need also to use this um, opportunity to kind of encourage youth to get involved in halal,
Yeah.
right? I mean, as you're talking, I'm thinking, we know a lot of the same people in the industry, and they've been doing it for so long. And as people retire, and stop working, I mean, we need younger people to come up as food scientists and advocates and just researchers, because
Mhm.
it's a complex topic. It's a complex industry, everything you mentioned is it's not something you just fall into. You really need to be educated in this.
I mean, halal brings me across the world. I mean, it's something I can
Yeah,
say specialized or unique,
it is.
unique subject for us people, especially Muslim, is a
Yes.
subject, and it brings us everywhere because even in Western country, they need someone that has that experience at the same time has the faith to bind
Mhm.
whatever they do. So
Yeah, exactly.
so they need someone that like us who actually to go out. You have to push yourself for research. Research is very key to become
Yes.
halal professionals
Yes, it is.
because without research, you will not go
Yeah.
anywhere. So
When
it's
I
very
first
important.
started, I started it as a food blog, and I really was only going to do recipes at first. And then when I was in Chicago, so I met the people at Ifanka, and then I realized they had all these conferences in food science, and I'm like, I never even heard of food science. I didn't know that was an industry at all. And then I get into these conferences, and I'm like, these people are brilliant, absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant. They've been, doing this research for decades. Where have I
yeah.
been? I mean, if I wasn't in the halal industry, I would have never known about that. And then here we are, people who had been doing this for 30 years already. And then I thought, I have a lot to learn.
These
Yeah.
people are I mean, they are really critical because they are doing verification of
Yeah.
ingredient and checking whether there's a animal trace. For example, the famous one is one of the is a university Chulalongkorn in Thailand.
Mhm.
They have a team actually, a scientist team actually to evaluate product whether there's animal traces. There is also in Malaysia, there's also in Indonesia. There's so many places that have this center that evaluating. They use similar to what COVID-19, which is you real-time PCR to test
Mm.
the DNA traces.
Oh, wow.
So they are checking this. So laboratory, like big laboratory, also stepping up this one because to the gap is so huge.
Yeah.
Even big companies like Eurofin, like Meru Nutrisign are also doing DNA analysis for product with animal trace, not just for not specifically for halal, but also for vegan, vegetarian
Hmm.
industry, for agricultural purposes.
Hmm.
Say
Yeah.
they a lot of laboratory actually capable to do food testing.
Hmm.
For even for halal
Right,
market.
right. And we need the business people, right? We need the people to
Yeah.
create the products. We need the farmers. We need the innovation, the innovative minds. We need the we need the money to fund the research.
Mhm,
We
mhm,
need this whole community of people who are talented in their own right, but who
mhm.
care at the underlying core. The common thread is the passion and love of halal, right?
Yes, definitely. I
Yeah.
encourage. I mean, my vision or my wisdom like that. One day I want to see actually more and more manufacturers, Muslim manufacturers that can do complex ingredient
Hmm.
in a really complex engineering for food engineering, because this is
Yeah.
something that we never reach even 1 or 2% in the whole global commodities market. Because we are lacking knowledge. That's number one. Back to
Mhm.
knowledge.
So you
So
think
we
people need to be more get into food engineering or manufacturing or both?
because food engineering is the substance of manufacturing anyway. So without that
Mm-hmm.
complex knowledge, you can't be a good manufacturer. You must
Uh-huh.
have that
Uh-huh.
team capability or specialist to do that. And of course,
Interesting.
regulators is always there, but
Sure.
food engineers nowadays, food engineers are getting into more to halal industry. When in the past 20 years, you always son, one day you have to become accountant, you have to become
Yeah.
architect. There's nothing wrong with that, definitely. But
No.
halal industry offers such a big
Yeah,
landscape that for us
it
to
does.
bring
It
our
does.
children there.
I never thought, I mean, I really just thought I was going to be a food writer and have not, I mean, just a food writer, but you know what I mean? I thought I was going to start my website and write about recipes that were just halal. I love
Yeah.
Mediterranean food and this and
Yeah.
that. And I was so amazed at the global world that this opened up to me. I never
Mhm.
thought of it being as international as it is. I mean, I knew, but I mean, the people you meet, the places you
Mhm.
go, it's
Mhm.
fantastic. It's so
Yeah,
interesting. And I mean, everybody kind of knows each other and it's nice. It's a really nice
yeah,
community to be part of. But I think we just have a lot of work to do in it. We have a
definitely.
lot
There's
more
a
to
lot of
achieve.
work because I think we need more people talking
Yeah.
about this. Like person
Yeah.
like you should there should be more. I'm fond of the Dean Show work as well.
Yeah.
So I think this is the Dean Show version of halal. So I
Yeah,
hope
I guess so.
there's a more people doing this because our consumer need to grasp those knowledge. You know, I can see the complex ingredient only coming from those country, and they are the one who making the money. And of course,
Yeah.
they are aligned to our most of the requirement, but still a lot more of them didn't been certified. So this is something that
Yeah.
our engineers need to understand and help to make sure our product really comply to halal.
Yeah, and seeing that there are so many engineers in our Muslim community, maybe we can kind of sway people to go to food engineering.
Yeah, they should.
That's another topic for another
Yeah,
show. But
definitely,
yeah, after we had this conversation, I started thinking, it's time to start mentoring the youth and getting them really
definitely. Yeah.
interested and involved and showing them the opportunities that they can embark on, in this really exciting place that
I
we.
actually, when I was in HDC, this is the quite interesting topic. We launched a sort of like a project, the creative future for children. We launched
Mhm.
a book that about, even halal accountant, halal scientist, halal nutritionist, all this to lure awareness of, especially among Malaysian, that look,
Hmm.
there's a halal industry not just for people who knows about food, but also
Right.
about setting
Yeah.
up a business,
Cosmetics,
etc.
pharmaceuticals.
Cosmetic, pharmaceutical,
Hmm.
so huge, but we have less people involved in this. So
I know. I
uh,
mean, right about, the COVID crisis, right?
mm,
Um, First thing I thought of when the vaccines come out wasn't, should I get the vaccine? The first thing I thought of was, I hope that we get clarity around whether or not it's halal. And what's interesting is that so many people are interested in what's in the vaccine, what's in the vaccine. Not Muslims. I'm talking about, kind of everybody else. They're
yeah.
interested in what's in the vaccine, but we have known this kind of stuff from a long time ago that, you know,
Mhm.
certain injections are not halal because of what's in them.
Mhm.
And when I started talking to people about that stuff, they said, "Oh my God, I never knew such and such thing could be in an injection or a vaccine." But from a halal industry perspective, I mean, this is top of mind, actually.
Yeah, actually, halal vaccine is less than 2% in the market. So I believe that this is doctrine of Islam is that we shouldn't have issue with something that save human life,
Sure.
because that's actually the nature of our religion is that it shouldn't be an issue where at that point of time, especially
Life and death.
vaccine saving life, and it's
Yeah.
actually shouldn't be issue whether it's coming from a non-halal sources.
Sure.
But of
Sure.
course, the concern will be in the long run whether this should be produced by a company that responsible to make it halal. But at this point of time, with the crisis of pandemic that we have, it shouldn't be a concern. That's actually a doctrine that in Islam that life is actually most important.
Yes,
That's actually something need to be saved first, and those nitty
it's
gritty
very
can be
true.
dealt later. Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. But alhamdulillah, the ingredients seem to be okay, and there were lots of scholars that came out and talked about the ingredients in some of the vaccines, and they were fine. And
Yeah.
it was interesting. It was interesting to see, like, the issue of quarantining, and then the issue of what's in the vaccines. It's all stuff we kind of talk
We
about all the
I think
time.
we
And
should concern more the medical pharmaceutical. There's a book called Halal Index produced by a company in Malaysia. They
Mhm.
have listed down all type of formulation used in the pharmaceutical industry. They call it like a Merck index, but it's actually a peak index. So
Oh.
whatever there for example enzymatic use from porcine, whatever it is inside
Mhm.
that book. For those who wanted to start pharmaceutical, I suggest you look up to halalindex.com. They
Okay.
provided very good detail on this what we call like a Merck index for halal pharmaceutical.
Okay. I just
Yeah.
shared that link. Well, we have a topic for another conversation, I guess. Inshallah. I'd love to have you
Inshallah.
back. I'd love to have you
Inshallah.
talking more about, other topics that
Yeah.
consumers can really benefit from.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot in just the past few conversations, and as well as today. So I can't
Mhm.
thank you enough for sharing your time and
Thank you. Thank
expertise
you very much.
again. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Any last minute things?
No, thank you so much. I think
You're welcome.
you did so well. I mean, being continue with this series. I've been following your all other interviews. Especially also the recently about the organic. People are having farm. Getting
Yeah.
product directly, which is organic, which is also very
Yeah.
important. I
Yeah.
think the more people do, I mean, the less the price is actually going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes,
And also, I hope people watching who, like, are not Muslim and they don't even, consume halal. That's fine. I just want people to learn a little bit, to get an
yeah,
insight into our
definitely,
world, and to see that we really do want the best for each other and for
yeah.
humanity. Not It isn't just about Muslims, right? Halal is for
Definitely.
everybody. And
Because
so,
halal coincidentally also means that the product is a quality and safe, not just
mhm,
because it hovers around topics on slaughtering,
sure,
hovering about alcohol. Not just that, because halal,
right,
come every aspect of condition of the food.
yeah,
If you
right,
have a product on the shelf, with the halal logo and the one without the halal logo, I think it's much better to know that this company have covered food safety, have covered all requirement by Codex Regulatory to confirm that this food is actually safe for you, rather than the
Exactly.
one which is do
Exactly.
not have any certification.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And that at the end of the day, that's the ethics
mhm,
around halal, right? I mean,
definitely. Yeah,
this is a ethically based way of living and eating,
yeah.
and
I
um,
mean,
it's not
choosing
cultural.
product with logo is critical even for vegan and vegetarian.
Mhm. Yes,
Without trademark,
right.
usually vegan and vegetarian they allow cross contamination, meaning that some impurities can be carried over. But with trademark, this not happen. This is not happening because the trademark ownership or regulators they will check there is no cross contamination. So if you're choosing vegetarian or vegan without a trademark, it's actually an issue. So
And also
take
organic too, right?
yeah, take those with the trademark. It's much actually safer because, like for example, kosher dairy product does not mix with any meat. That's actually rule of thumb of kosher. No
Right.
dairy
Right.
product, no
Dairy
meat,
and meat
and
don't mix.
also vegetarian and vegan with trademark. There is no meat or animal derivative because those without self declaration they allows most probably they allow cross contamination or carry over what we call industry.
Mhm. Fascinating stuff. You should write a book. Is that
I
next?
hope, I hope I did co-author one book called Halal Guidebook,
Oh,
produced in
guidebook.
Malaysia.
Okay.
Look after
Where
that.
can we get that?
Uh, it's actually also in my blog. You can find the link.
Ah, okay.
It's also one of the top 50 books selling in the Frankfurt International Book Fair.
Oh, mashallah.
So it's a good handbook for food manufacturers to really understand. Even people want to start, house complex, shop lot, small
Mhm.
entrepreneurs business. You should have that book to start with, to understand
Ah, very good.
what are the ingredients. Even for consumer, it's a really good
Mhm.
information about, what are the basic of ingredient, what the basic of additive, etc.
Mashallah. That's
Mhm.
really good. I mean, I think
Yeah,
I see a lot of, moms who have blogs, right? And
yeah.
they're into veganism and vegetarianism or just clean food
Mhm.
labeling and stuff. And I feel like that's sort of like a guidebook for the halal, right?
Yeah.
It's that, people are really into it today and for good reason. So, you know, we're watching out for our health. We're watching out for the health of our
Yeah,
kids and our
definitely.
parents, and yeah. So
Yes,
I'm gonna check that out.
there's a sustainability or the halal security that we need for the future for our generation.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
You're certainly leaving a legacy for us to really,
Inshallah, Alhamdulillah. I
no
mean,
excuses.
this is not just me alone. I think a lot of people that doing this line of job, halal practitioner, they actually as a fardu kifaya, as an obligation that they
Mhm.
have to do, not just for themselves but also for ummah.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the more we know, we have to share it because it's
Yeah,
not this is not common information for people who are, working other jobs. They have lives and everything else. It's our job to convey the
definitely.
information that we
Yeah.
get in a totally different world and industry than everybody else. So I hope we can
Well
continue to do
said.
that well.
Well
Well,
said.
thank you again. I know I've taken a lot of your time and it's getting late there in Istanbul. So thank you
No
so
worries.
much again.
Thank
Jazakallah
you
khair.
again. My
Yeah.
pleasure.
Have a very good night. Take care.
Yeah.
Assalamu
Take
alaikum.
care. Waalaikumsalam.
Bye-bye.
Good night.